Okay, moving on to who's next. One of the all-time classics on Verve, Wes Montgomery, Smoking at the Half Note. A little misleading because only half the record is live at the Half Note Club. The other half is Rudy Van Gelder Studios, so I put it on the wrong side, or the studio side. I'm like, this doesn't sound like it's in a club. Where's the ambience? Where's the drinks clinking and the applause? So that ambient side is side one. Side two is studio. This is, like I say, one of the classics on Verve, and one of the best jazz Wes Montgomery on Verve, because a lot of the Verve stuff is very poppy. This is more jazzy and sounded great. What I don't like about some of these records is the hard panning of guitar out of one channel and whatever, drums or piano out of the other channel. I like a more sort of spaced out sound field, and that's something you really notice when you have good speakers set up right. But highly recommended Wes Montgomery album. Okay, this is weird. Wait, is this weird? Yeah, it is weird. I showed you Dusty Springfield a minute ago from Memphis. This is like more or less the same songs. We got too much brightness here, guys. We're gonna have to turn down the brightness. Oh shit! How do you work this camera? That's a light, and it looks terrible on camera. Shelby Lynne singing the tunes of Dusty Springfield. This is considered an audiophile classic. Audiophiles at audio shows. This is one of those go-to records like Norah Jones and Diana Krall. I don't really care for Diana Krall, but first time I heard this was at an audio show. Jeff Joseph, whose speakers I bought, was using this to show off his Pulsars, which is a $7,000 mini monitor. And by the way, I'm listening. This whole thing is about me listening to my Buchardt S400s. One of the reviewers, Sean at Zero Fidelity, compared the Buchardts to the Pulsars, and that's a $1,500 speaker compared to a $7,000 speaker, and then he retracted that comparison. Anyway, that's a little tidbit tie-in with Shelby Lynne. This record sounded beautiful, top to bottom. The bass on here on the first song is so humongous. It makes any speaker sound great, but it makes great speakers sound fabulous. But when you hear the bass on the first track on this, acoustic bass, you're like, how many subwoofers are there? And it'll sound great on a system with no subwoofers. So anyway, this sounded great on the speakers, which I would expect it to. Okay, then I got into some jazz. One of my favorite albums by John Scofield. Do you guys even know John Scofield? He played with Miles Davis. He played with Billy Cobham. Huge solo career. I love all of his solo stuff. I have like all of his records. This was on Blue Note. This was one of the early new Blue Note releases. In other words, the reinvigorated Blue Note from 1990. Let's see. Jack DeJohnette plays some fantastic drums on here. Charlie Hayden plays bass. Joe Lovano on sax. I've seen Scofield play a zillion times. Catalina's in Hollywood, right in the front row against the stage, like his guitar neck like over my head. During this period, absolutely, I think this is some of his best work. The drums and the cymbals on side 2 on Flower Power sounded fantastic. One of my favorite John Scofield things. So check it out. John Scofield. Jazz guitar. Love it. Are these in order? Because I think these are out of order. Because I knew I listened to John Scofield 2 in a row. One of his earlier records when he was on Gramophone Records. What happened to them? Are they even still around? This is a much more fusiony record than the one I just showed you. The one on Blue Note, upright bass, and more, traditional jazzy. Not totally traditional, but this one is way more fusiony with synths and electric bass instead of upright bass. Don Grolnick on keyboards. You guys know him? He died of cancer a while ago. Daryl Jones, isn't he the guy playing bass with the Rolling Stones now? and Omar Hakim, amazing drummer. This is a great record. Sounded great. It's a much more produced, slicker sound than the Blue Note one I just showed you. Techno, Stillworm. Okay. Guess I've had enough John Scofield for one day. Let's see. Are these out of order? I'm showing you these in the order that I listened to them. I went into the garage and grabbed some. You heard of this guy? Frankie. My wife has like 60 Frank Sinatra albums in the garage that have not been brought into the house, have not been cleaned, have not been cataloged. I picked out 4 that I thought would sound good. Great recordings, the Capitol Records sound with the reverb and the big orchestras, Nelson Riddle, whatever. These are trashed. These are so scratched up, I cannot get through them. I got through a song or so on each one. Frank Sinatra, that's a swingin' affair. Frankie, Only the Lonely with Nelson Riddle. These are classic bazillion multi-platinum records. Frank, No One Cares. Story of My Life. This should be I should put my face on this record. No One Cares. That's me sitting at the bar, drinking, alone. Someday we'll do more on Frank. Frank Sinatra is one of the biggest recording artists in the universe, and he's hardly ever spoken about in the vinyl community. What's up with that? Did I show this one? Strangers in the Night? Anyway, I need to get better copies of some of these. They are too thrashed. Getting near the end, guys. Look at this cover. Is that a freaking amazing photograph of Art Blakey? Blue Note. This is mid-70s, the Blue label. The only time that they switched from the blue and white, they did blue and black for a little while. These are good quality records. Look at the amazing players on here. Lee Morgan, Bobby Timmons. The high point of this record is the Bobby Timmons tune. I hope you guys know it. It's called Moanin'. We picked this up for only $5 at a record show a while ago, and my friend gave it to me because he bought one of the fancy Music Matters ones. But there's a scratch on here that is problematic. Most of it sounds really good. This sounded good on the speakers. The presence of the trumpet coming right at you sounded beautiful, except for a scratch. So I gotta get a better copy of this. I can't get over how great this photo is. Let's just look at it for a while, shall we? That's photography, people. Look at the shadows and the light. That's Art Blakey. What's he got to moan about? He's usually smiling. He's one of the happiest people in music. And then I went to another Blue Note. This is the Late Night record that you gotta listen to. Late at night. Kinda blue. And how's the color on this? Not looking too good, is it? Yeah, colors are screwed up here. Looking a little pinkish. Kinda Blue, Kenny Burrell. Probably some people might consider it his best album and one of the top 10 albums on Blue Note. Sounded beautiful. Stanley Turrentine on sax. It sounded great. This is a recent copy, probably 75th anniversary period, sort of. Highly recommended on Blue Note. Sounded great. So guys, that's part 2 of my third. Let's back up. That's my third stack of records on testing out the Buchardt S400 speakers from Denmark. I'm probably going to keep these speakers. They sound great. They're still breaking in. I'm not near 100 hours. They want you to break them in for 100 hours. That's kind of ridiculous in a 30-day free look period. But maybe I'll do a follow-up review of the speakers themselves. This was just a bunch of great listening. But the good news is I'm listening to a lot of music and not screwing around on the internet and just watching a bunch of videos. Love your videos, guys, but I gotta listen to more music because I got the system to handle it now. The great speakers and the great amplifier and 3,000 records. Somebody's got to listen to them. Let me know what you think, guys. What you think of these records. Appreciate your feedback as always, and thank you for watching.